Bear down, Chicago Bears. What are we going to do about DK Metcalf? Shane Waldron is now the offensive coordinator, and that leads a lot of people to wondering who's on the radar. Now, before we get started, make sure, if you will, please, to support me, hit the like button, the subscribe button, the bell to be notified of future content on your way in. And let's remember, this is a work in progress. This team is putting it all together, getting themselves into a good position. We don't know what the future holds. I really think that the Chicago Bears are a Super Bowl contender for next year. And if not Super Bowl contender, they are a team capable of a playoff run. Now, to stress, I'm a Chicago Bears fan before I'm a Justin Fields fan or a Caleb Williams fan. So I don't care about the quarterback controversy, but I do think that Fields represents a better option for the team right now. That's before we get to the combine and we start to see, look, we can see the tape on both of these guys. And in fact, I've got some tape of Justin Fields making just crazy throws. So I think this comes down a little bit to coaching, and we'll see what happens. We know that Matt Eberflus yesterday was defending Justin Fields to potential offensive coordinators with the idea or the premise here that they want to have Justin Fields in the backfield next year, a move which I would support. If they choose to move on to Caleb Williams, I'm going to support that too because I don't care. I do and can present a logical argument for why Justin Fields should be the quarterback for the Chicago Bears going into next year and why he shouldn't be. But this is really going to be in the hands of Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, and Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron does have the capacity and the ability to turn Justin Fields into what we did not see in previous seasons under Luke Getsy, and that was a guy who could make all the throws, make all the plays. We actually saw that from him under the tutelage of Ryan Day in Ohio State, and we have plenty of game tape on it. We see that, in fact, Justin Fields ranked out better than C.J. Stroud. So, there's a lot to unpack with that. But we're here today to talk about Shane Waldron and the free agency buzz. Before we get to it, there is one big thing that we need to point out, and that is that Jim Harbaugh had a real interest, and Jim Harbaugh has been announced for those of you that don't know or who are sleeping under a rock or who've just not been paying attention for any number of reasons. In the main news, Jim Harbaugh is now the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, there is a rumor going around, and I don't know the validity of NFL notifications or NFL Notify or anything like that. I don't know what they have, but the rumor is that we have been told that Jim Harbaugh had real interest in coaching Caleb Williams in Chicago. So, if that's the case, then what we could be looking at is another instance in which the team has already decided that Justin Fields is the guy, and that the reason that they didn't bother with Jim Harbaugh was that Jim Harbaugh, they already maybe knew that he wasn't the guy. Now, Ryan Poles did say that he did not reach out to Jim Harbaugh, that he decided on Matt Eberflus, but there could be something here that is not revealed, and there could have been feelers being placed out where they said, what if we kept Justin Fields? And he was like, I'm not interested in that. So maybe, just maybe, that's why there's no real conversation that took place. We don't know, and we probably will never know, but it's interesting at least to consider that Jim Harbaugh could potentially have been here. So a little bit odd that we didn't go for it in that regard. I want to say that feels kind of uncomfortable to me. But we had an article here that seems to have collapsed. We're going to move on to that one and go with Seattle's best to accompany Shane Waldron. And these are the players that it looks like in actuality might have an opportunity. And in fact, this was the players that could end up in Chicago because of this move. Now, there's another one on here, and it's going to be a wildly speculative one that's about to load over here, but we're going to go with this one first. Another reason to sign Seattle Seahawks free agents is their familiarity, of course, with the Shane Waldron system. And if that is the case, then here we go. We have our answer at center. Now, as you guys know, I've said Connor Williams is probably going to be the guy, but let's take a step back. And looks like we had a guy coming out of Dallas yesterday. Today, Evan Brown, as long as they're aiming for signing Brown and using him only as a bridge to a younger center, then this would be a good signing. Brown is by no means one of the better centers in the league, according to Pro Football Focus grades. He barely rated above Patrick in center grades last season. He was 27th overall, and Patrick was 30th. The difference is, and by the way, should be pointed out as we look at this, that Lucas Patrick was the 30th of 32 rated centers in this league. The difference is Brown was graded as a solid pass blocker, rated 17th among centers as a pass blocker. Patrick was 32nd among centers as a pass blocker. So this would be a significant upgrade. Let's put that in the pipe right there. But I think the focus should be really Connor Williams and anybody else if it can be had. Now, if you're in a cost-cutting measure and you're looking for somebody who can fill a gap, then Evan Brown is out there on the table. Also, you've got Colby Parkinson. It depends on what a team is looking for from a tight end, but the Bears wouldn't be looking for a starting tight end. They're playing Cole Kmet, planning on his new contract to do this. Signing the Seahawks free agent Noah Fant wouldn't make much sense. The reason Fant wouldn't be a Bears fit is they project he is a $9 million free agent. That's too much to spend. Parkinson, though, has actually been more a consistent blocker than both Fant and Kmet. Now, in order for Fant, or in order for Colby Parkinson to be part of the discussion, we need to figure out what to do with Mercedes Lewis. Mercedes Lewis in his, I want to say his 949th year in the NFL. He's old. I think he's 40, by the way, this year. So at 20th season, 19th season, something like that. Been here for a very long time. But if he decides that he's going to hang it up or he won't take a cheaper contract, then it will be important that we find somebody who can fill that gap as a blocker. And Colby Parkinson would be somebody out there with familiarity in the Shane Waldron system that could give you what you need in that regard. Then we have backup, because we do need a backup no matter what, who's going to be able to back these guys up, and that's going to be Drew Lock potentially. If they draft Caleb Williams, quarterback is one position that would really help Waldron with the Bears to have someone around who has played in the attack. Drew Lock actually got to play in it last year in Seattle. He definitely could help Waldron and whoever the quarterback coach will be when it comes to getting the new starters ready, both to play in the attack, but to play in the NFL overall. The Bears have Tyson Bagent, but his limited NFL experience is in another offense, and he's an undrafted Division II quarterback who doesn't have an arm. Locke has a second-round draft pick. This is probably an upgrade over Tyson Bagent in the short term. Tyson Bagent, I think, is a very adaptable guy. I don't have a problem with him as a quarterback. And if he were forced to be the starter for the Chicago Bears, I don't think that they're better than Justin Fields. I don't think they're better than Caleb Williams. I don't think that they're better than Drew Lock. But if we were for any reason needing to start Tyson Bagent, I have every confidence in his ability to improve over time. If Tyson Bagent ended up by one crazy mechanism or another starting for the Bears for next season for any extended period of time due to injury or something like that, then I think the Bears suddenly become a team looking for a new head coach and probably a new GM, because I think this is the final year for Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus to make something big happen. Kevin Warren does not have his people in place. The fact that he doesn't have his people in place should be indicative of the fact that he's looking for upgrades or he's looking for improvements. And if that is the case, then this is the final straw. And Tyson Bagent, I don't think, is that guy that's going to fix that final straw. The person that fixes that final straw, that person, by the way, that's Justin Fields. That's the guy that can hit the ground running, who already has at least a grasp of NFL speed, et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, in the rare event possible, but in the rare event that Justin Fields acts as a bridge between Caleb Williams and they draft Caleb Williams without trading for Justin Fields, then Justin Fields comes in as the starter. And if he does a good job, then he does a good job. But he reaches the end of his fourth year, free agency is in the market, and then bam, he could just go his separate ways in free agency, or we can make a trade halfway through the season, bring in Caleb. Look, there's plenty of options here, but I think we should at least consider that for many people, Justin Fields probably going to end up starting next year. And that being the case, I would have more confidence in him than Caleb Williams coming out of the gate or Tyson Bagent. Now, moving on, Tyler Lockett could be another option. He's not a free agent, and the Bears are not trading for him, not worth a ridiculous $27 million cap cost on his contract. However, obvious talk in Seattle is that he'll be a cap cut victim because of his huge salary and the fact that he's 32 years old. He has already talked about retirement. If he is a cap cut victim and the cost is much, much, much lower than now, then he would be fit to help a young quarterback by getting open over the middle in Chicago. And that's what we've really kind of missed is wide receivers getting open in Chicago. As a matter of fact, I did see there is a quarterback lockdown, I think it's called, or something like that. I was watching a video of somebody trying to break down Justin Fields, quarterback college or something like that. And he's trying to show where DJ Moore, that he could throw DJ Moore open. And I was watching the play, and it was against Seattle, ironically, or no, it was against Denver, ironically. And he's like, just make the throw, just make the play, throw the ball. And I'm watching number 7, the middle linebacker, and I don't know his name, escapes me, but the middle linebacker spying Justin Fields, moving into the lane that Justin Fields is going to throw in. Instead of make the throw and get the completion for DJ Moore, this guy from a quarterback college is basically telling Justin Fields to throw an interception. So, and by the way, the play that I'm referring to ended in a completion for Justin Fields that put them in a 3rd and 4. Now, of course, you want the first down, but I don't think there was a first down. But I think that this guy's like not paying attention to a spy watching Justin Fields' eyes, looking for those opportunities. It was wild to me that I'm watching him miss that. But you know what? It's the NFL. Maybe I'm the idiot, right? Anyway, so a lot of rumors going on, by the way. We're going to talk about 3 more people here, and this is going to be some overlap in it. But another guy that's being considered right now that could end up here, and I don't know the mechanism by which he could end up here, but that is Chase Young. Could you imagine? Because originally last year, we were talking about Chase Young coming in instead of Montez Sweat. We ended up with Montez Sweat. Chase Young ended up going to the San Francisco 49ers. But now the possibility exists that through a trade or free agency, we might end up with Chase Young. They're going to make a big pitch for Chase Young this year to come to the Chicago Bears. And that, guys, I want to say that pretty much fixes a good portion of the defensive line. I think Gervon Dexter obviously could use a lot of improvement. I think he's going to improve, but we're looking at some big changes here potentially in this defense and some serious upgrades. Looking for the next coordinator. Terrell Williams was interviewed yesterday. Day before that, Chris Harris appears to have been interviewed. So, we do have some movement in the defensive front. Be interested to see how that plays out. I went looking for any news on a new defensive coordinator hire, and I didn't really see it. I think that Matt Eberflus is really trying to take his time with that pick because I think it is important to him that person represents the same values and the same kind of set that he does, so that he can have maybe not a hand in it, but at least he can be familiar and comfortable with the system that's in place, because I think he knows what he's talking about when it comes to defense. And I think the Bears really came along towards the end of the season and had a good defensive stand. And by the way, I do want to say this because I know that some people are like, well, then why they give up 17 points to Detroit Lions in the last 4.5 minutes of a game? And that's fair enough. I mean, you can have a lot of you can not like some of the moments it had, but you have to remember that at some point players get tired. They physically can't perform, and when your backups are not as good and you don't have an elite level of backups, then it represents in itself a problem, and that problem. That problem is sometimes insurmountable because you're just worn out. You're just tired. And what are you going to do at that point? You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's basically where this is kind of going here. Like, there's going to be moments where you just can't, but if you got a little bit of depth, if you have the same players, let's just say you replace Yannick Ngakoue, who's now a free agent, with Chase Young. Well, you've upgraded that position, and your backups are still there, but you've got a better grasp, or you've got a better team, and that team also has another year's worth of experience, call it. So, super fascinated by what is getting ready to happen here with the Chicago Bears, especially on the defense. But let's get back to Shane Waldron here. Shane Waldron, we've got another group of people. We got Tyler Lockett again. We've got Greg Olsen again. We've got Evan Brown right here. And the question is going to be really, how do we get to DK Metcalf? Now, with the Seattle Seahawks in transition, what does that look like? So Chicago Bears, DK Metcalf. What does boom? Why does it kind of look like? By the way, looks like there's a big opportunity here. By the way, maybe I'm missing something here because I had DK Metcalf on my radar just a second ago, and I don't know where the article went. But we're going to move back, by the way, 1 second here, and we're going to go back here because NFL Insider is now predicting that the Bears are going to sign elite edge rusher, former number 2 pick, and that's going to be reuniting Montez Sweat and Chase Young, which we just talked about. And that came from Jeremy Fowler, who thinks that they're going to be making a play for Chase Young. Now, Chase Young, this is a 4-year, $98 million extension for Montez Sweat. It's going to cost at least the same amount of money, probably more for Chase Young. So you do have to make a decision. Do you want that on your team? Is that what you're looking for? Is that what's going to get you to that next level? And look, this is, if you have a shutdown team that can get to the quarterback like that, then again, the collapsing of the pocket, can Gervon Dexter scoop up all of those sacks? Can he be the guy that collapses the pocket going forward? Is he the guy for it? And who do you have as your other defensive tackle? By the way, rumors do persist still that Akeem Hicks might be resigning as a free agent. I love that big body right there pushing its way into the interior. That to me creates a lot of problems for quarterbacks. And then it really comes down to, can our defense, which has been, by the way, a little bit of a prevent, not really a strong, a great coverage team, but not a great route coverage team. Okay. Across the middle, especially. So where do we, if we can just hold these guys for 3 seconds, 3 seconds is all it takes, then this defense could be swarming all over these quarterbacks, and it could turn into the monsters of the Midway all over again. That's what we're looking to see. We're looking to see the monsters of the Midway. By the way, if you're here, if you're on your way in, if you've got one finger available, please hit that like button. Smash the like button. Pushes me up in the algorithm. Helps me out to continue to support the channel. That's all I ask of anybody. Just hit the like button on your way in, and it would help me out tremendously. But so the possibility certainly exists that Chase Young comes in. This is a matter of money. So you can't sign Connor Williams. You can't sign somebody like Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. You can't sign all these big names. You can't do that unless you have the cap space. The Bears have the cap space, but then it gets eaten up by somebody like a Chase Young. So to me, this seems like a pie in the sky, but let's see what happens. This could be something incredible. Now, this, by the way, was the other perfect free agent that I gave you yesterday. I wanted to come back to it. Tyler Biadasz from the Dallas Cowboys is he's a 26-year-old center. He's been to the Pro Bowl. So it could be that we're looking at Tyler coming. He's going to be available in free agency, so we'll see what happens there. Now, Ryan Poles is expected to look into looming Packers free agent. And for those of you that don't know, the man we're talking about is the beast himself, A.J. Dillon. Guys, listen, I just want to say this. A.J. Dillon is an incredible downhill sort of run. Like, this guy is a monster when it comes to moving people around. And look, because he's a Packer, I don't like him. Yuck. You know what I mean? Gross. But if you watch his play, then you see he has the ability to move the line. He has the ability to push people around. He has the ability to hit people hard and to move them back when they need to. Look at that, the power that goes into him. He falls forward. He's one of those guys that we would be fortunate as a team to have. Now, when I say that, I do also want to say that in the event that we could re-sign Deontay Foreman, I don't want A.J. Dillon. I like A.J. Dillon, but I also like Deontay Foreman. I don't think that there's much of a difference there between the two. But the question is, can we get Deontay Foreman back in here? And you do have to recognize right here the catch capability. You don't have to sub in Rashawn Johnson as much for his pass catching capabilities with A.J. Dillon. You've now got a dual purpose and a dual threat kind of guy. And look, the guy makes a lot of moves, makes a lot of plays. He's a rough and rugged guy. So hopefully we're going to see something happen with AJ Dillon. That would be interesting and fantastic, and especially because it's good for the rivalry. And the one thing that's great for the rivalry is taking players from the Packers. It just, because, and by the way, if you remember how much fun people had in Green Bay over Julius Peppers signing as a free agent in Green Bay after playing for Chicago. They had a lot of fun talking mad smack about that. So always when you can get a player from them, it's a good thing. At least in my opinion. You can let me know what you think in the comments. Anyway, so now we've got a few more drafts to go through that if people are looking at. And this first one up is coming from Fan Nation, and it says the Bears trade Justin Fields in a new 3-round projection. And what they did, of course, obviously, Chicago Bears pick up Caleb Williams. Then we have Drake May, Jaden Daniels, all the clever foils. Arizona Cardinals seems to be a consensus that Arizona Cardinals are going to end up with Marvin Harrison. I do not think this is accurate, by the way, but for the purpose of this, let's go with it. Then we have the Chargers taking Malik Neighbors. A lot of conversation about Rome Odunze. No conversation about why Malik Neighbors is going in the top 5 and top 6. Now we have the New York Giants taking Rome Odunze. And then at number 7, we got Joe Alt. And then number 8, we've got the Atlanta Falcons taking Dallas Turner. And then the Chicago Bears taking edge rusher Latu from UCLA. Really kind of an older looking, you know what I mean? Then the Jets take Olu Fashanu. And then Minnesota Vikings pick up my favorite, which is Jared Verse, the edge rusher from Florida State. And then number 12, all the way down to 12, Denver Broncos take Brock Bowers. So this, by the way, guys, I really, if I look at this and I'm looking at this thing, I don't think that they have the Chicago Bears in mind when they make these selections sometimes, because you don't see, this doesn't make any sense to me. Now it could be, by the way, and by the way, I'm not pointing out the Caleb Williams part because the quarterback matters, but if Justin's gone, he's gone. If it's Caleb, it's Caleb. I don't care about that. But when you come down to the number 9 selection and you're taking the Latu, well, then that means that you're not going to pair him with Chase Young. You're going to bring in Chase Young. So that changes the dynamic of everything that we just said. And sometimes I get hard-headed and I want to see, there's certain things that I would like to see. So in the event I could get a Chase Young instead of the Latu, then my brain is now saying, well, if that's the case, then I don't need an edge rusher at that point. I don't need somebody who can come in and do that because I've got 2 horses that are going to be just absolutely dominant for a few years to come. What do I have to look for? Well, what I need is I need a good blocker. I need another option. So what am I going to do? Well, why wouldn't I go with Brock Bowers? Why wouldn't I look for something like that? Or why wouldn't I take Olu Fashanu for an offensive tackle? Because I need an upgrade to Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones, good player, but I mean, guys, I think that he could be upgraded. I don't think that he's fantastic. I think he's done an okay job. I think Tevin Jenkins has been great, and then I think obviously Darnell Wright has been fantastic. But we need a center, and we're going to need a right guard. I mean, Jones was just not cutting it. Obviously, one of the worst graded in the league as well. So, when I'm looking at these positions, sometimes I'll give you this, and we'll be looking at this, and we'll try to analyze it. We're just not coming up with the right things, and it's driving me crazy. So I might have to break out here and just be like, guys, this is crazy to me. And this one's crazy to me. So, but let's move on here because we have another one that says Schrock's mock draft for Shane Waldron and how that impacts the decisions. So what he's now saying is number 1, we're going to take Caleb Williams with the overall. I could come up with some massive trades. That would be a waste of everyone's time. I have a hard time seeing any of my mock drafts not start with Williams. Fields has improved as a passer, but not enough to justify passing on a quarterback that everyone around the NFL has been dreaming about since he burst onto the scene as a freshman at Oklahoma. He's a generational talent, one NFC scout told NBC Sports Chicago. Guys, there's a lot of first-round draft picks that are generational talents that just don't work out. Sam Bradford immediately comes to mind. There are a lot of quarterbacks. Ryan Leaf comes to mind. There are a lot of quarterbacks that we take first overall that are just not that good. So, and they're all generational talent. So that's not the part that matters. The part that Caleb Williams is 6'1", which I think is prohibitive. And I know, by the way, you might say Justin Fields is 6'2", and that extra inch I think is supposed to matter to me a little bit, and it does. But Drake May is 6'4", so He's going to see over lines a little bit better. Maybe he's going to have a clearer space. However, here's the other part to this. It doesn't matter whether it's Justin Fields. It doesn't matter whether it's Caleb Williams, because the Shane Waldron is a fan of play action and bootleg. So that would give you some openings, and you're not standing behind the line in the pocket all the time. So you do have some options in your scheming that would benefit either one of those guys. So even though I say that 6'1" is probably not your prototype, it's still serviceable. You can still do it. But they say he's too good to pass up. And then number 9 overall, round 1, of course, Roma Dunzi. But Roma Dunzi in the last draft went number 6 overall. So, when we're mocking these things up, we have no idea what we're talking about most of the time. We have no idea what we're trying to come up with. We just, what does a team need, and then we just kind of make our way through it to try to stick with it. Then to go through it, you trade. You make a trade in the second round. Work your way down and get to number 52. Get Chris Braswell, edge rusher out of Alabama. Which would be a good sub, somebody to come in a little bit later on, maybe build up and build upon. And then you have Cedric Van Pran, interior offensive lineman from Georgia, which that's a good selection overall, especially if you can pick up somebody like that in the third round. Potential replacement, either at the center position or the right guard position. Then you get Johnny Wilson from Florida State. I'm not a big fan of Johnny Wilson. I don't think that another wide receiver, depending on what they do here, I don't think that that's in the cards or even necessary to draft. I would like to see the defense filled out with a little bit more stout. But maybe, just maybe, we'll see something like that happen. And then moving on here, this would be the best offense in the league. This is from Justin Fields Fan Club. It just an account on Twitter. Justin Fields at quarterback, Saquon Barkley at running back, which again, we talked about that yesterday and the day before. Saquon Barkley, the potential exists for Saquon Barkley to end up here. One of the problems with that, of course, is, and it would be fantastic, but I think I mentioned twice now that he gets injured a lot. And he's getting, even though he's not old, he still gets injured a lot. And as you get older, I don't know that that's a great fit. AJ Dillon, probably same age. I want to say maybe even a little bit older, but not as injured. So I feel like Saquon Barkley, even though it would be amazing, requires somebody to be healthy here. So then wide receiver, you have DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison, Tyler Boyd, for Cole Kmet and Brock Bowers at tight end. Obviously, you're seeing what you've drafted. And then that's, by the way, that's giving away Marvin Harrison Jr. and Brock Bowers are your 2 first-round draft picks. And then you have a left tackle of Braxton Jones. Disagree. Tevin Jenkins, Evan Brown. Again, Evan Brown's Connor Williams. Tadius from the Cowboys, maybe. Cooper Beebe at right guard, and then Darnell Wright at right tackle. That really is an outstanding line. It really is, or a quality line. And that's an outstanding offense overall. So, the potential certainly exists. I can see this playing out in my brain. Now, I just want to say this for the record, because I don't want to be I don't want to be that one guy. I don't think that Saquon Barkley is the tremendous upgrade to Khalil Herbert or Deontay Foreman that we're talking about. Again, not because I don't think that he might be a better guy. I don't think that maybe he's a better running back for sure. But these two guys, Deontay Foreman, Khalil Herbert, even Roschon Johnson, they hit the pocket hard. These are good, hard runners. I don't think that there's a tremendous upside to Saquon Barkley at a huge cost versus what we could get these guys for, or what these guys are already worth. I think Khalil Herbert has been fantastic. I think Deontay Foreman has been fantastic. I think that the Chicago Bears are really set at running back. So if I'm going to make any kind of change at this position, then I would say, maybe not Saquon Barkley. And I would save that money for something else like that defense and getting Chase Young. So, that would be my option in preference to it. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also, right here, we've got everyone making all these assumptions about, and this is important. This is important. I just wanted to point this out, and that people realize it and recognize it. And we do this all day long, because this is content. We're creating content for you guys, and we're going through scenarios and variables and ways that these teams could get better. Everyone making all these assumptions about offensive coordinator Shane Waldron and what it means for Justin Fields or Caleb Williams. Do you actually think the Bears already have made their decision? No combine, no workout, no free agency, no nothing. Crazy as hell if you think that. Also, do you think that they would tell each candidate their plan in the interview? Often head coaches do not even know who the pick is. Y'all need to chill. Best bet is they hired a guy who could do the job and has their same agent, the buddy system. And that's about the fairest thing that you could say when you're assessing this. Now, we're going to still do it every single day. We're going to come up with variables and scenarios and reasons by which Caleb Williams should be the guy or Justin Fields should be the guy. But, at the end of the day, the decision hasn't even been made. You have to sit down with Caleb Williams. You have to see if he's a fit for your organization. You have to see how he looks in the combine. If he doesn't do the combine, how he does in a personal workout, whether he'll do a personal workout. What is it that he's going to do? Can you pick up somebody, a comparable replacement in free agency for the person that you're looking to draft that's still young, that still has a lot of miles in the tank or something like that? I mean, not for nothing, you can't bring him in, but, say you could bring in somebody like an Aaron Rodgers or a Tom Brady or, a Patrick Mahomes for, if there's somebody out there, and there's not, by the way, but if there were somebody like that, then you have to make those decisions. And no decision has been made right now. So, and then what if you are, you guys are sitting down talking about it and you're looking at the game tape and you're like, and Shane Waldron's like, dude, I would really prefer Justin Fields because I can fix whatever's wrong with him. And I think he's a better option than Caleb Williams because I can come out here and I can look at, and guys, I just want to say, you come out here and you can look. Just going to kind of let this run. It'll take a second. It'll probably take a second to load. I don't know why my internet is suddenly like dying on the vine here. But if you look at this field, go back and look at the tape. The tape says not only can he make these plays, he can make them very well. And then finally, Clay Harbaugh asked a very important question. I think that we should all kind of at least take a deep breath and wonder. Justin Herbert is getting Jim Harbaugh as his coach. Should the Bears have at least had a conversation with Harbaugh? I think Eberflus earned another year, but this guy is a proven winner at every level. Now, what do you guys think? Isn't this this is a great question? And again, if we go back to what I said at the beginning of this show, if we operate under the assumption that Jim Harbaugh in some way made it known that he would love to have Caleb Williams in Chicago and that he was interested, it would be a nonsense thing for Ryan Poles to say, yeah, we were just not like, we don't want a winner. We don't want a guy who wins. Like, well, we want to do that. Like, that's crazy. That's insane. So I don't think that that's, I think that we should really kind of look at this and maybe ask some questions. Maybe despite that they said there was no communication, maybe there was a little backdoor communication in some way. Maybe through some of these back channels, Jim Harbaugh let the Bears know, hey, if you're going with Caleb Williams for sure, I would really like to sit down with you guys and have an interview. And Ryan Poles probably at that point was like, you know what, I can't make that commitment. And maybe he moved on. And by the way, you could be in your mind saying nobody would do that. That doesn't make any sense. That actually makes perfect sense because Jim Harbaugh doesn't have time. Jim Harbaugh, he's getting older. He's on his last hurrah, if you will. He's not going to move place to place and spot to spot, and he's not going to keep going. He's got a 4, 5, 6 year rebuild. This is going to be his final team. So this was the last opportunity maybe for the Bears in this position. So what do you guys think? I mean, that it seems to me like this is a great question to have at least considered. And by the way, if you're Kevin Warren, you got to be watching something like this and saying, okay, so we had an opportunity to bring the hometown boy home and we didn't do it because of what? So, you got to ask yourself stuff like that. And even if, by the way, even if Matt Eberflus justified himself for one more season, even if he did, so what? So what? That doesn't mean that you get one just because you feel like you might have earned one. So it just seems to me like I think there was more that was done over there. So we're gonna move on to chat right now. By the way, don't forget, I don't have it available yet, but this is going to be the new design here. Bear down with Bleeves. You're going to see me. I did order my merchandise, so you'll be seeing it showing up. By the way, if you happen to see me in the gym or something like that, then I'll be wearing my Bear Down with Bleeves stuff going forward. But let's get in chat a little bit here. Fields has so many play draws with wide open wide receivers, but he just couldn't be able to see them. I don't. So Jimmy is. I want to say that you're right, and I don't want to. I don't want to argue about it because I do agree that there are things that Justin Fields missed, but I think that a lot of what Justin Fields missed was based on the way that he was coached and the fact that he was not coached to his skill set. That's really what this came down to. And the fact is, can you fix that? That's to me, that's the real question. Can you fix what was wrong if you decide to stick with him? He made a lot of mistakes. So you know what I mean? Like it's and Jimmy K. No, but okay. So yeah, it does matter who you have at wide receiver. You would be right. I don't think that I don't think that there are situations in which, but the wide it's you got to be able to throw to the guy. You got to have some pass protection, at least a reasonable amount of pass protection. And I guess we can go here and we can statistically kind of look at it because it's not complicated. So we can go to Pro Fantasy Football and we can look at the offensive line rankings because for some of you it doesn't matter, right? For some of you it doesn't matter. But let's go look here. We got the Philadelphia Eagles were obvious number one. Detroit Lions were the obvious number two. Indianapolis Colts, Atlanta Falcons. Oh, they only give us. Oh, they only give us the number three. Ew, fuck those guys. Look at Pro Football Network. Let's try that one more time. So we had obviously again the number one Philadelphia. The argument here for number two was Baltimore Ravens, Indianapolis Colts. Then we have Detroit, Minnesota, Dallas Cowboys, Cleveland Browns, Green Bay Packers, Atlanta Falcons, Los Angeles Rams, Tampa Bay, Las Vegas, Denver, Kansas City, San Francisco, Buffalo, New England, Houston in the top portion. And we're still waiting for the Chicago Bears. So if we could just say to ourselves, hey, by the way, the Houston Texans are at least at the midpoint of the league, then we're still not finding. We're at number 23. We're at number 24. At number 24, we now find the Chicago Bears. But the Chicago Bears offensive line is probably in the best spot that it's been in the last two seasons. Nobody seems to think, look, you may not like Justin Fields, but you at least need to acknowledge what Justin Fields had to work with in terms of offensive line, in terms of wide receivers. And you could also make the argument that, the wide receivers in Houston, the Texans, may have not been as good as the Chicago Bears. And that would be a fair enough argument, but you also have to be able to throw downfield. And if you look at Justin Fields' advanced stats, then you can still see that you were playing from behind the eight ball. You have a defense that was giving up 30 points a game, and nobody seems to acknowledge that until they just want to argue. And if you just want to argue that you don't like Justin Fields, then you don't need advanced stats to tell you that. You can just say, hey, I don't like Justin Fields. His hair is gross, or his face is ugly, or my wife finds him attractive, so I don't like him, or whatever reason you might have. And you could also say the product on the field, because the product on the field does leave a little bit to be desired. It really does. And anybody who's defending Justin Fields should be defending Justin Fields based on the potential that you see for Justin Fields, not based on the product that you've seen so far on the field, because that product on the field, it kind of sucked. It wasn't great. So, we should at least be honest about it. Justin Fields did no great service overall to warrant anything other than quote unquote potential. So, if that's it, then that's it. That's cool. That's cool with me. But a lot of people just like to shit on him for no real reason. Yeah. But who do Stroud or Love have as wide receiver? And here's the thing: like what I just did is I gave you the reason. First of all, the offensive coordinator at Green Bay, superior. The offensive line, far superior. There's no argument. There shouldn't even be a debate or an argument that you have an extra second or two to throw. And to be fair, I think, in my opinion, that the Bears were calling plays too far down the field. They weren't playing a shorter game, which they should have played, which was more part of Justin Fields' get out of pass rush free sort of thing. And they didn't. They continue to play downfield when they shouldn't have, and they continue to run when they should have passed. It just things were just bad. And then Jimmy K, how can you see them when the defender was in his face in 1.5 seconds? Nobody understands that, or at least when people understand that, nobody wants to acknowledge that. And again, that's fair enough. Again, and first of all, let me defend Jimmy K and say that, look, you don't like Justin Fields, you don't like what you see in the product, and that's okay. We all have an opinion. We all want what's best for the Chicago Bears, not for Justin Fields. Guys, love Justin Fields. Great community man, has been a great leader for the team. He hasn't played like a superhero. I joke about calling him Superman and stuff like that because I see the product and I see the potential. I've even said at one point that he looks like Lamar Jackson. He could have been something like that, or he might still be able to be something like that. A tremendous runner that can also make a lot of throws and could be in an MVP conversation. But he hasn't been coached that way. He hasn't had an offensive line that way. He hasn't had a team built around the things that he's good at so that he had that opportunity. So all the talent in the world doesn't matter if you don't have the system in place. So now we find out whether or not we're going to get the system in place. Justin got better at that down the stretch, and that's fair. Like Justin Fields was better and better and better as the season wore on. For those of you that are saying like, well, yeah, he lost the first 4 games. Yes, but he also won and went 5-3 when he returned. And you take that with Tyson Bagent also going 2-2, and you got your 7 wins. So you went 7-5 through the second part of the season. I mean, that's good. That's better. You're finally looking like a team that's ready for the playoffs. But you're not talking about it because you were playing from behind the 8 ball because your defense. By the way, it is the defense. Your defense gave up tons of points. And there's no acknowledgement for that. Like, why can't you just air it out? Well, why can't you just air it out, Luke Getsy? Why can't you just air it out? I mean, shouldn't that be the question? And I mean, look, I'm not making this shit up. I'm not making anything up here. Packers gave up 38 points to the Packers in the first game of the season. Clearly not ready. Gave up almost 30 to the Buccaneers. Gave up 41 to the Chiefs. Gave up 31 to the Broncos before really coming together. 20 points here, a losing effort here. Gave up 19 points here. So it's getting better. But gave up 30 points to the Raiders. Gave up 30 points to the Chargers. Like, what are we talking about, right? Gave up 31 points to the Detroit Lions. We got better as the season goes on. You can look here and you can see that even in victory here, 12 points, we only gave up 10 points here. We only gave up 13 points here in the rematch. We only gave up 20 points here to the Browns, even though it was a losing effort. Only gave up 16 points to the Cardinals. Only gave up 17 points to the Falcons. Only gave up 17 points to the Packers. Like, you can go down here and you can look at the list, and if you're not seeing the progress and improvement that the defense made, then you're ignoring everything. But if you're not acknowledging that this defense really sucked to begin with, then you're being disingenuous, and it's just because you don't like somebody. Like, you just don't like the fact that Justin Fields might be here. Again, you don't like his haircut. You don't like the fact that he's a humanitarian that helps the city, that he gives countless hours. Like, you're just furious, and you're enraged by the fact that Justin Fields is a nice person or something like that. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But here's the thing. No matter what happens, we're going to have to embrace either somebody that you might think sucks or somebody that you might think is awesome that might not be awesome. Because if your idea here is that everybody with the same line, with the same everything would suddenly turn you into a winner, you're delusional. And that's okay. You can be delusional. This is a free country full of delusional people, so you're fine. And Justin Fields' quarterback rating is decent in the first half. Why is it that his offensive line is so bad? So that's because they're scheming at the beginning of the game and they're making good play calls and they're organizing. And that's one of the good things that you'll find me always say about Luke Getsy is I think he schemed the first 15, 20 plays perfectly. Like he really understood what he was doing at the beginning of the game. And if that happens, then you look like a superstar. He did a good job of that. I think Luke Getsy did a great job of that. In fact, the problem is it's when you have to make adjustments right after you have that first 15 or 20 plays that you scripted. After that, what do you do then? Well, then you start calling plays and you start figuring out. And then what do you do as a defense? Well, you start to adjust your defense. You start to adjust the way that you're calling. So what did he do? He improved his play calling at the beginning of games. And you can see that there are a matter of fact, Justin Fields' quarterback rating was 110 in the first quarter, and then I want to say 91 in the second quarter, and then 89 in the third quarter, and only 58 in the fourth quarter. Now, why is it 58 in the fourth quarter? Well, because you're giving up 30 to 40 points a game, and you have to go and you have to air it out in an offense. It's not made for that, but it's made for running the ball and perhaps doing play actions, which we didn't do enough of. And then you had, didn't we have a game where all we did was throw screens? I mean, think about the game that you saw on the field. And by the way, I think that game was Tyson Bagent, wasn't it? No, it was Justin Fields. But all we did is throw screens all game long. Think about it. Just think about it. Just think about it. Because I think sometimes you don't watch the games and you just formulate an opinion by like, hey, Justin Fields only went like 11 of 16. Guys, in the last game against the Packers, you don't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. Here's Justin Fields. This is Justin Fields in this last game against the Packers, 11 of 16. He started the game 6 of 6. In the first quarter, he was 6 of 6. So you mean to tell me that good play calling and good work here means that he only threw the ball 10 more times in the entire game? That's quality play calling from Luke Getsy. If you said that, you're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about. Like you are out of your mind. That is the worst thing that you could possibly ever see. That's insanity at its finest. And look, I came into the Green Bay game saying, you know what? They're going to win because they have the capacity. They have the ability now to win a game that they weren't winning before. All they have to do is continue doing what they have been doing. And what had they been doing? Winning ball games and making plays when it mattered. Running up 37 points on the Falcons, running up 27 points on the Cardinals. They lost to the Browns, but 28 points on the Lions. Came with a tough win, held the Vikings to only 10 points. So you have a streak of good play. You have a good streak of good play. And then what do you do with it? You only throw the ball 16 times. You only throw the ball 16 times. That's insanity. That is stupidity. And that is a testament of why Luke Getsy, dog, had been got to go, as they say. And also, by the way, let me point out the way that he wanted to win, the way that this guy wanted to win. This is and by the way, if you're blaming Justin Fields, this is why I say you're an idiot. Okay, 16 passes, but the previous games where they actually performed, 32 passes, 27 passes, 40 passes, 33 passes. Let me go again. 32 passes, 27 passes, 40 passes, 33 passes. What do we do against the Green Bay Packers? 16. There you go. And if you think that that all falls on Justin Fields, I mean, come on. You really have to you really have to pay attention to what you're seeing. Okay. And by the way, completion percentage 70%. That's what you wanted, right? 70%. So Justin Fields' quarterback rating, by the way, in that game, 97.9, 99.5 in the last one. And by the way, he had a horrible game against Cleveland where it was 46.5. But other than that, he closed out the season with almost 100 quarterback ratings in the last two games. So all of your crybaby, I don't like Justin Fields, comes down to, okay, he didn't do it. Luke Getsy did that. So Love that. Anyway, so I guess that's it, guys. Hope you guys are having a great day. And yes, the Tribe of Judah trolls everyone. He look, he's gonna cry, and it's okay. He's gonna cry because he doesn't like Justin Fields. Um, and you don't have to like Justin Fields. Again, I don't give a shit. You just have to like the Chicago Bears. You just have to be a Chicago Bears fan. So all I'm asking, be a Chicago Bears fan. And it doesn't really matter what you like, what you don't like. Look, they're going to bitch about Justin Field. They're going to bitch about Caleb Williams too. We are, I want to say, 6 months away from why they draft some guy who's only 6'1". I assure you, the same people who bitch about every quarterback are still going to be bitching about every quarterback. And fair enough. It's Chicago, so every quarterback has been, you know what I mean. So we'll see what happens here over the next little while. But until then, we'll be back tomorrow with some more. So, Ghost of Judah, you better hit that like button. And if you don't like me, you better hit that dislike button. But you better hit one of them goddamn buttons, man, because guys, make sure you hit the like button on the way out so that this video trends for the rest of the day. And then in the meantime, Bear Down Chicago Bears, I assure you, we are going to get there. This team is going to be a Super Bowl contender next year. And I say that, and then I always back down and say, well, I don't mean Super Bowl. I mean, we're going to make the playoffs, and we'll see how it goes from there. 12-5, 13-4. We're going to be one of those teams. So let's see what happens. All right, guys, we'll talk to you again very, very soon.